God's words teaches us that He wants His children to prosper. Understand that, but understand why. Not just for your own sake, but for the sake of others. Are you building
When you meet Coylette James or hear her speaking at one of her seminars, the impression you get is a woman who just exudes success from every part of her being. But when you spend time talking to her one-to-one, it becomes clear that success didn't come without a price. Adopted at 2.5 months old, Coylette grew up knowing that her birth mother had abandoned her.
You know what? I don't ever remember not knowing. And the thing that my mother would always tell me was that I didn't grow in her stomach, I grew in her heart. And she made it a point for me to understand how special I was to them, that God had given me to them because she wanted a baby so badly.
At age 7, Coylette was profoundly affected by the death of her adopted father.
I was daddy's baby. I was truly a daddy's girl, and it just really rocked my world because that stability that I had known in him was no longer there. My mother used to have a saying, and I don't think she meant it in a humorous way, and it wasn't completely accurate, but she used to say that I was a daddy's baby, and when my father died, I turned him in, which didn't quite happen at 7, but nevertheless, there was that void in my life when he left.
Coylette grew up with dreams of the perfect wedding and walking down the aisle as a virgin. But when she was just 13 years old, Coylette's first boyfriend pressured her into having sex. She never imagined the cost of surrendering her virginity.
I had no idea the effect emotionally that would have on me. I didn't look at myself the same anymore. I was a different person. By me giving up what was so precious to me, those dreams were gone. Those dreams were gone, and so I could never walk in what I had one time desired to do, and it just had a profound effect.
And then the unthinkable happened.
At age 14, I gave birth to my very first child. It was quite an experience. The first 6 months I carried him, no one even knew that I was pregnant, but me and God. In my 6th month, my mother found out, which was another traumatic experience because it just broke her heart. And she was such a strong-willed woman. I don't think I'd ever seen my mother cry. And when she found out I was pregnant, she cried for 3 weeks straight. And then she started preparing for her grandbaby. So, but yeah, that was 14.
Within 2 years, Coylette found herself in trouble again.
I was scared to death, seriously. It was like, I'm 15 years old, I'm pregnant with my second child. First time I did anything after my son was born, I got pregnant again. And I'm freaking out. I don't want this child. I don't want to be pregnant again. What am I going to do? What's my mother going to say?
Despite her fears, Coylette found acceptance and support in the arms of her mother.
I thank God for my mother because she was my rock. You know, and she enabled me to continue to go to school. It was the stress of losing your teenage years. My friends were still going to the basketball games. My friends were still going out skating. My friends were going to the movies. I was going to work, going to school, and taking care of my children.
Like many growing up in Las Vegas, Coylette earned a living surrounded by the fast life and glamour of casinos and theaters. Before long, she was introduced to drugs by a young coworker.
So I get off work and I go over to her house, and she started off, she gave me a half a Quaalude, and I smoked some hash for the first time. And that started my drug use.
A chance encounter with an employee of Don King led Coylette to a freelance job, one that developed into a 28-year career working with the famously eccentric boxing promoter.
Working in an environment where you're around nothing but money all the time can magnify all kind of things. But at the time, you know, hey, I'm hanging out at the clubs, hanging out at the bars when time permits. Because trust me, when you work for a man like Don King, who is a workaholic, you become a workaholic as well. So I was in a position where I'm traveling the world, I'm meeting all kind of people, I have security for my children finally, but I had no peace. you know, and I believe that I was searching for it in all the wrong places. It wasn't in the drugs to be found. It wasn't in the clubs. It wasn't in the people. Wasn't in the people I was sleeping with. It just wasn't there. And I had a couple of friends that when I would talk to them, there was just something about them that I wanted. And it was that peace. And the only thing they could attribute it to was their relationship with God. Now, understand, I've always known God was real. And I've always had opportunity to recognize when his hand was at work in my life, but I had not developed my personal relationship with him.
One evening in a Las Vegas church, Coylette made a choice that completely changed her life.
I don't know what is going on, but whatever it is, there was an overwhelming feeling of, this is it. You're at the fork in the road. What's it going to be? And that's when I gave my life to Christ. There was an instant transformation of who I was. There was a recognition that the person that I had been living, that life I had been living for 32 years, did not have meaning. You know, now there was a brightness, a different glow within me. I could feel it like a different warmth. I felt that bitter heart start to soften, you know. It wasn't, I didn't have that cold, callous exterior. So it was a definite change.
Today, Coylette works full-time with the ministry she founded, God's Marketplace. She's a published author with a timely message that speaks to people's hearts.
Trust God. Don't trust in your situation. Don't trust in your circumstance. Don't even trust in the people that are around you, because people will fail you. They don't mean to, but they will. Trust God. God loves you beyond all measure. And you can trust and believe that he will walk you through any situation, any circumstance. There's nothing that you've done that's so wrong that he won't love you out of. So trust God. That's it in a nutshell.